Hello everybody, welcome back. This is going to be a part two of the video that I did just a couple days ago where I talked about my favorite reissues, my favorite 5 reissues that you should take a look at for 2026. Now that we're in the midway point of the year, I kind of like to, see where things are sitting musically. So for this video, I'm going to show 5 new releases. Now, they're not going to be in any kind of ranking, and they're not going to be albums that I've talked about, all that much. I'm not going to show you the Lemon Twigs, which I've talked about ad nauseum, so you don't have to worry about seeing that. So I've got 5 records here. I've talked about some of them a little bit in recent finds videos, and may have even done a video on one of them, but I just want to show 5 new releases that I'm really enjoying and could potentially end up on my year-end best of list. So I'm going to start with one that I just have on CD, and I'm probably just going to stick to the CD. That is the album Prize Fighter by Mumford & Sons. Now, if you know Mumford & Sons, you know they were kind of big in the late 2000s, early 2010s, part of that whole stomp, clap, folk revival scene. They had their big debut breakthrough album called Sigh No More, which had songs like The Cave, Little Lion Man. They had the second album called Babel, which had the song I Will Wait. All those songs were big in the, hipster kind of microbrewery group of people. You know what I'm talking about. This is their second album in less than a year. They had an album last year called Rushmere, which I don't have, but for some reason I wanted to go ahead and buy this one. I think it was on sale. I think it's the big reason. And I had a Barnes & Noble gift card, and I said I want to try it because Mumford & Sons kind of went away from the folk scene. They kind of went poppy and tried to go a little bit more mainstream. But they did come back. I do have this one signed, which is kind of cool. This little print, but. This is full of some really good songs. There's a song right now that I know my boy Alex over at Beer and Vinyl is really loving called Here. They do with Chris Stapleton, the country singer. It's just a great kind of, beer drinking, raise your glass with the boys at the pub kind of song. There's a great song called Rubber Band Man, not the song by the Spinners. They do that with Hozier. I would say this album's weakness is that they throw in too many guests on here. Like I said, Hozier's on here, Gigi Perez, Gracie Abrams. So all these, modern people that, maybe they were hoping will help boost the sales. I don't know. The banjo song is good. They do the song Prize Fighter is good. There's some really, really good kind of upbeat songs, but also there's classic Mumford & Sons ballads in that folky scene. So Prize Fighter by Mumford & Sons. Check out a couple of those songs that I mentioned. The rest of these are going to be on vinyl. Again, no particular order. I'm going to start with this album by Death Cab for Cutie. It's called I Built You a Tower. This is Death Cab's first album in, I think, about 4 years. Obviously big in like the early 2000s with albums like Plans, Narrow Stairs, Transatlanticism. Their big radio song was called I Will Follow You Into the Dark, which was really just their leader, Ben Gibbard, on acoustic guitar. But this is a really interesting album. It's kind of throwing it back to that style. I know they kind of went a little poppy with songs like Gold Rush and the Ghost of Beverly Drive. But this is kind of a return to form. It kind of takes them back to like that, 2004, 2005 era. Really, really good to hear these guys kind of in their middle age. But check out the singles from this album that were really good are Punching the Flowers. And the other one was Riptides. But there's also some other good stuff on here. There's kind of, just this vibe of like these, feedbacky guitars. The song I Built You a Tower, there's a part A and a part B, kind of runs a little grungy, if you like that kind of thing. Envy the Birds is another good song. But if you like that emo kind of indie pop, and I'm talking to you, Richard at Richard's Vinyl Tap House, because when I think Richard, I think emo. You would love this. And anybody that likes, there's Death Cab, there's a couple of early Death Cab albums. I kind of gave up on them. Check this song out. I actually went to the listening party at my local shop. Won a signed print of the record, but of an insert. But I Built You a Tower. fantastic record by Death Cab for Cutie. So kind of cool to see them kind of going back to where they started. I just got this one in the mail today filming this. This is June 10th. Although I've listened to this album, I've listened to it at least once before and probably some individual tracks, but listened to it again this morning. This is Old Crow Medicine Show and their album Union Made. I might even do a dedicated review on this, but Old Crow Medicine Show I've talked about ad nauseum. Americana, string, bluegrass, country band, whatever you want to call them, out of Nashville, Tennessee, originally out of Harrisonburg, Virginia, kind of near my neck of the woods. Fantastic album. This is kind of in response to America's 250th anniversary. This is kind of Old Crow's take on what they love about the United States, but doing it in a way that brings light to a lot of the issues, but also not being overly political on this album. Now, again, I'm somebody that enjoys politics and music. I don't mind that at all. And Old Crow they're no stranger to it. They actually have a movie out now called Louder Than Guns that talks about gun control, especially with school shootings. But this is a fantastic record, and they talk, a little bit about that idea in the song "Beautiful Land," which has this great, horn section of a guitar. Of a song. They sing that with Maggie Rose, and again, just like the Mumford and Sons record, this album brings in a lot of guest stars in the Americana world. They bring in Jesse Wells, who's made a huge splash online with his very politically charged songs. They work with Del McCoury from the Del McCoury Band and his sons. They have Molly Tuttle on here, who is the fiance of Ketch Secor, the leader of Old Crow. So all sorts of great stuff on this record. Check out the song Lewis and Clark. They sing about Lewis and Clark. They do a great version of For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield. They also do the Merle Haggard tune Rainbow Stew. But the opening of this album is fantastic with the song How Do You Do America. It's just this very old school kind of, welcome country song. That's just fantastic. Very much a Grand Ole Opry type song. So Union Made by Old Crow Medicine Show is 3 out of the 5. And again, I'm not ranking these. Middle of Nowhere by Kacey Musgraves. I talk about Kacey all the time. She's one of my favorite singer-songwriters of the 21st century. Her last album, Deeper Well, was one of my favorites from a couple of years ago. This album I don't like as much. It's a little campy for me, but there's some great stuff on here. It's very country, but also has that pop sensibility that Kacey Musgraves has in her songwriting. Check out the song Coyote with Gregory Alan Isakov. The song Everybody Wants to Be a Cowboy with Billy Strings. That's a great tune. Uncertain Texas with Willie Nelson's fantastic. Back on the Wagon. That's another really fun song. Rhinestoned. Another good song. Mexico Honey. There's just some catchy tunes on here. If you like kind of like that country pop vibe, and Kacey does it with a sense of humor as well. She was a big fan of John Prine, who obviously had a sense of humor in so many of his songs. So Middle of Nowhere by Kacey Musgraves, another favorite this year. And finally, we're going to go with The Great Divide by Noah Kahan. Now, I've talked about Noah Kahan before. He is a singer-songwriter out of Vermont. Really blew up about 3 years ago with his album Stick Season. This is the follow-up to Stick Season, which was a lot to live up to. He was filling out baseball stadiums like Wrigley Field. He's currently touring more baseball stadiums this summer. I know he's playing in D.C. up at National Stadium. This is a really solid album. Now, my issues with Noah Kahan, and my friends know this, Noah is in his late 20s, but is very much somebody whose lyrics reflect the Generation Z mindset of just a lot of the worries that they have as a generation. And while that's great, and while it's important for that stuff to get out, he's very much an advocate of mental health, very much pro therapy. Again, as am I. I think my thing with it is I don't necessarily relate to some of the issues that Noah has gone through in his life. And I think that kind of disconnects me a little bit from his music. But there's some good stuff on here. Again, some of the stuff is all over the place virally. The song American Cars, Paid Time Off is probably my favorite on here. Porch Light is really good. Um, Doors. So there's some good stuff on here. Like I said, the song Paid Time Off is my favorite if you want to check that song out. So if you like kind of, indie singer-songwriter with kind of a folk pop edge vibe, not even an edge, he's not edgy, then listen to The Great Divide by Noah Kahan. So that does it for me. That's 5 records that I'm listening to a lot that have come out this year. Again, I've left quite a few out that I need to spend more time with. Obviously, I've been listening to the new Paul McCartney record. Ringo has an album out. Willie Nelson has an album out. So there's these great legacy groups. And I know in just a couple, well, I think the end of this week, Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs have a record coming out. I know we're supposed to be getting a new Paul Simon live release. So there's a lot of new records that are coming out later this year that I'm really excited about. But that's just 5 right now, June 10th, that have come out that I'm enjoying and that you might like too. So let me know what some of your favorites are this year. Let me know if you listen to any of those records, if you're digging them. I'd love to chat with you in the comments. So that does it for me, everybody. Y'all be good, take care, and we will see you on the next one. Bye now.